All right, welcome to DCB Revolution, where we're thinking big to live large. I'm Noah Voles, and today I have an opportunity to talk to Dr. Jen Santos. She's down in Petaluma, California with the Acorn Chiropractic Club. Super excited to learn from you and all the innovative different things that you're doing. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So the first thing I wanted to kind of start with and talk about is I noticed that you're yourself a club, a chiropractic club. And so I was hoping you could elaborate on why you chose that distinction and what that means in terms of your practice.
So our name is Acorn Chiropractic Club. And we took acorn from the BJ story about the potential of an acorn and how within every acorn is the power or is the potential of a mighty oak tree. And so that really resonated with my husband and myself about how we wanted to kind of focus on pediatrics and prenatal care. And kind of our idea with the acorn idea was that we wanted to really tap into human potential and how in every little baby there's the potential of great things. And we decided on the club because we are of the opinion that every man, woman, and child can benefit from chiropractic care from womb to tomb, and everybody should be under chiropractic care. And so with that philosophical belief or whatever, we wanted to make chiropractic care affordable and accessible to people. So with that being said, we decided on a club model where it's essentially like a gym membership. You pay a monthly fee and you are part of the club, and one of the perks of the club is you are able to get adjusted. So it's not a per visit fee. We do have a per visit fee for people who are not wanting to do the club. I'd say about 90% of the people in our practice do the club. And what that allows is for us to really say, this is what we think you need based on, what we really think they need, not what kind of car we want to drive or, any financial considerations. It kind of removes that. And really that was kind of our model. The entire time we were in school, we knew we wanted to do something like that. When we got into clinic, it was kind of the same idea is, I could tell somebody to come in 3 times a week, but maybe they really only needed to be in twice a week or once a week or whatever. But I needed, at Life West, I needed my pinks to graduate, right? And so I could say, well, come back 3 times a week or whatever. And not that I did that, but that was always like a thing for me is, if I tell somebody to come back, I'm getting my ticket to graduation. And it's kind of the same idea in real life as chiropractors could, not saying that they do, but they could say, hey, come back tomorrow or in 2 days from now, not really based on patient care or what they really need, but because it benefits the chiropractor financially. And so what we really wanted to do was remove that financial consideration. The other thing is I was a family, my dad's a chiropractor and we had 5 kids in my family, and we wanted to allow every kid to be under chiropractic care. And the reality is with 5 kids, if you're charging $50 a visit, parents are going to choose which kid needs the adjustment and which kid needs to be under chiropractic care. And so, strictly from a financial standpoint, we wanted to make it so that parents didn't have to choose and they didn't have to sacrifice, a mom most of the time is going to forego an adjustment so that her kid can get adjusted. That's just kind of how moms roll a lot of times. And so we wanted to really remove that financial consideration and get people kind of thinking that chiropractic care is a lifetime maintenance type of thing. Our practice is primarily wellness care. We don't do a lot of patch-up stuff. And yeah, so that's kind of where we came with that.
I think this is brilliant. I'm a big fan of the evolution of medicine. James Maskell has created that. And one of the things that he really promotes is exactly what you're doing. He calls it direct primary care, where it's a membership model so that the type of care that you provide is not based on a third party. Primarily that's insurance, or primarily that's like, padding your pocketbook. So that's actually based on giving people the exact amount of care that they need. The membership model is the perfect way to do that. So I think that was so brilliant of you to just start the ground running with that model.
Yeah, it's worked out really well too.
So in terms of, you talked about Acorn Chiropractic and, starting with kids and families and really, having this kind of pediatric focused practice. Is that something that you always knew that you wanted to do? And did you have any experience that really cemented that for you?
Well, it was kind of a funny. I was always not a big kid person at all. I didn't really like kids. I thought kids were gross. They're dirty, obnoxious, and loud, which is all true. It's totally true. But yeah, I mean, so I got my undergrad degree in criminal justice and was going to go into either enforcement or law. And I started working. I worked first for the sheriff's department and then for the Department of Fish and Game. And during that process, really realized how unhappy and unfulfilled people were in that field. And the reality is, I mean, those people are, seeing people at their worst every day. And so for me, I got into my last semester at one of the top schools in the country for criminal justice. And I decided I was done. I didn't want to do it. And so at that time, my husband actually had been working in my dad's office as a chiropractic assistant. And he came home one day and he said, I want to go to chiropractic college. And I said, absolutely not. I'm so opposed to this idea because my dad had been really heavily into insurance, really heavily. He was really, really big into work comp. And I forget what year it was, but somewhere in the early 2000s, work comp in California completely fell through. About 85% of his practice was work comp. So when it fell through, he was in a scarcity model, and he didn't come from a place of abundance, and it was very scary for him, and we almost lost the house, and and he had been doing it for 25 years, and then basically had to redo his practice. And that was something I did not want. I did not want to be my own boss. I did not want to feel like every month, oh, we made enough to exist. I didn't want to do that. And so when my husband said, I'm going to go to chiropractic college, we had been married about 5 years. And I said, absolutely not. Like, no way. And he's like, well, I'm going. You can come with me or not. And I was like, all right, I'll go check it out. And so we actually went to Life West, where Dr. Klum shared his chiropractic story. And if you ever get a chance to hear him speak, he's amazing. But he shared his chiropractic story about how the medical doctors had told him he was going to go blind, and his dad started taking him to a chiropractor. And it was at that point that I realized that night that not every man, woman, and child had been under chiropractic care since they were born. It sounds kind of funny, but I was, I think, 24 at the time. And it kind of occurred to me that most people don't use chiropractic appropriately, in my opinion, for what, for maximum potential or maximum benefit of, human expression. And when I realized that, I thought, how many kids are living sick and on medication and don't know any other alternatives? They don't know how to function in the world with a healthy immune system, with a healthy nervous system. And so it was at that point, we were driving home that night, and my husband said, so what did you think about Life West? And I said, I think it's fantastic. We can whatever, do that if you want. but I'm going to come too. And he said, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm going to be a chiropractor. And he kind of laughed. And I was like, well, not only that, but I'm going to be one of the best pediatric prenatal chiropractors ever. And he kind of was like, well, there's only one problem with that. You hate kids. And I said, yeah, I can get over that. And so at that point, it kind of went from sort of ironic to hilarious when we were about to start chiropractic college, and I found out I was pregnant. And so we started chiropractic college with a 2-month-old, and went through the program together, my husband and myself. And it was awesome. So much of me becoming a mom really kind of prepared me and groomed me to be a good chiropractor, to be a good pediatric prenatal chiropractor. And so that was kind of my journey to that, if you will.
That's a brilliant story. Yeah, I love that story. And I love how you just really, followed your heart and followed, what you felt you were called to do. Even though you had seen this kind of scarcity model and you had seen things in the way they could be. So did you kind of know from day one that you wanted to do a membership-based practice?
Yeah, so my husband and I were both working at my dad's office when we decided to go to chiropractic college. And so we had actually gone to a seminar where we had met Reggie Gold. And he sort of became, I mean, obviously my dad was a huge mentor to us, even though we chose not to practice like him. We have a lot of respect for what he does and his practice. But Reggie Gold kind of became our kind of ever expanding horizon of what we could do and what chiropractic could be like. And that was sort of not necessarily a new idea to me. My dad was always a big fan of going to chiropractic offices. Anytime we went on vacation, we would go to a chiropractic office and we would see how they practiced and get adjusted by that person. And, it was just, chiropractors are kind of funny and have like a little community like that, if you will. But so, I mean, we had been in, I've probably been in thousands of chiropractic offices over my lifetime. And when we did that, we had seen so many different models, and Reggie Gold really talked about how what you want to do is kind of, I don't know if it's the right word, but like train people or groom people to really be thinking of chiropractic as like a part of life or just like a healthy lifestyle choice that they make. And so what we had done when we were in our second quarter is we decided that we wanted to do kind of a membership model. Yeah. And pretty much at the time we were at Sherman, and then we transferred to Life West, and pretty much every business class that we ever had told us that we couldn't do what we wanted to do. We were going to fail in practice, whatever. But it was what our hearts desired and what we knew was right for us. And really, I think that was the biggest thing. We've been out 3 years now and our practice is thriving. And it's one of those, we have been so passionate and true to ourselves about what we wanted and how, everything in our office resembles us. Everything in our, our paint colors, our, couch that we have in the, everything is an example of who we are as people. And so I think that, a lot of people come into our office and they're like, a lot of students will come in and they'll say like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. It looks like a daycare or whatever. And it's like, well, that might not be the best for you. And if you want to do I'm barefoot in practice. I don't wear shoes. I half the time look like I'm going to the gym. And so, but that was what is true for me. And, if you want to do the white lab coat thing, like rock it, like do it, like that's fantastic. It didn't resonate with me, and it wasn't something that I wanted to do. I didn't want to be like the doctor, I have a responsibility to my practice members, and I have a responsibility to not like just be like, oh, I don't care about your symptoms, whatever. Like, there are things that we need to do as doctors. I understand that, but I didn't want to be that, like, substitute to medicine or replacement doctor. And so kind of every aspect of our practice reflects who we are. And I think that that's what's most important when developing what kind of practice you want.
Yeah, I love that you found what was really true for you, and then you were authentic in providing that. I know my experience in school with so many techniques and so much information, it's easy to kind of get distracted from what's really mine and what's really important to me. And so I think that's so important that you keep honing in on what your why is and what's really important to you. And in addition to the kind of innovation that you made with the membership model, do you feel like there were any other undertakings or any other connections that have really accelerated your success? I mean, you said you've only been out about 3 years and your practice keeps growing, and that seems to be somewhat rare with new graduates. So could you talk about how you feel you were able to get to that point?
Yeah, I went through the ICPA program, the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association, and I think that gives you a really good baseline of where to go from, from wherever. But we made a lot of connections with my midwife. We had a home birth with my son, and she was our midwife during that process. While I was in chiropractic school, I continued to foster that relationship. I wanted her to know that this is something that I was serious about. And so when we learned about at Sherman, we had a spinal biodynamics class where we learned different, like, nutation and counter nutation of the pelvis, and like how the pelvis opened, and all of that. And I called my midwife and I was talking to her, like, asking her, like, what has been your experience? And she was a big proponent of chiropractic. Most midwives are pretty chiropractic friendly, and so she so we just kind of fostered that relationship the entire time we were in school. Once I got out of school, I met with her and I said, okay, like, this is what I'm doing. I was almost done. I had finished all my ICPA classes, and then I got certified through the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association. And so I had that little extra education, not little, intense extra education. So kind of for me, I went to my midwife and I said, look, I'm the only one in the area with the certification. This is what I do. This is what I'm passionate about. And I think the biggest undertaking that we have done is really be authentic to who we are and what we do. And I always go back to Reggie Gold, and I'm sorry, not sorry, I guess. But Reggie Gold talks about kind of the schizophrenia of chiropractic and the profession as a whole, and how really what we do is we want to serve. Most people go into chiropractic because they want to help people, they want to serve. And part of it is, he would always talk about how, do one thing and do it really well. If you want a PT clinic, be the best PT clinic you can be. If you want a straight subluxation-based chiropractic office, do that. If you want an upper cervical practice, be the best upper cervical practitioner that you can be. And he talked about how, chiropractic is one of the only professions where we have this sort of like lost identity or schizophrenia, if you will, where, if you went into like, he always used the example of like a refrigerator store, and you walk into the refrigerator store and someone says, hey, I'm here for a washing machine. And you have, that refrigerator salesman has two options. They can either go out and buy a refrigerator or a dishwasher and bring it in and say like, hey, I have this dishwasher to offer you. Or they can say like, hey, I know the best dishwasher salesperson in the country. I'm going to send you there. You can go get your dishwasher. And if ever you need a refrigerator, you come back to me. And and instead we kind of do this whole like, well, I'm going to go buy a dishwasher, bring it into the office to make you happy. And the reality is, I think you're sort of selling that person short. You're not giving them all the options. You're not giving, you know, and so that story kind of resonated with my husband and myself. And so when we were opening our practice, we would always look at each other, you know, and say like, we sell refrigerators. And, you know, and that kind of became our mindset, is that, you know, we wanted to do one thing and do it really well. And that's sort of something I see in the profession that, that I don't know, I don't mean to be arrogant or cocky or whatever, but, you know, people are posting Facebook videos of them adjusting babies, and they'll do like diversified cervicals. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, people are terrified. You know, the general public is terrified of you cracking their baby. And then you post a video of you cracking their baby. And you know, we had the honor, in my opinion, to have Ron Castellucci, who's a ICPA instructor, but he was our teacher at Sherman. And he would always say, if you're getting audibles in babies, you deserve to have your license taken away. And that, to me, he was so passionate about that, and so, you know, direct, and said, you know, like, you should not be getting audibles from babies. And I think, you know, we're kind of, it's getting better, but we're kind of taught, like, we're not really taught like pediatric adjusting. You know, now with Dr. Mulhall teaching the peds class and everything, that is turning, but not everybody. That's not a core class. That's not something that everybody has to take. And so it is kind of an issue when you have people who are trained in chiropractic and then think like, oh, I can adjust a baby, they're just tiny humans. Well, yeah, they're tiny humans, but you can't adjust an adult the same way that you adjust a baby. You can't adjust a baby the same way that you adjust an adult. And so I think that one of the biggest undertakings that we really chose to do very, very early on is just establish ourselves as the authority on prenatal and pediatric adjusting, and how it is different, and how, and that spreads like wildfire. You know, if you have somebody that is a talker, and a lot of moms are talkers, but if you find someone that can competently adjust your baby, they're, you know, people are going to share that, and that helped us a lot. And so at Acorn Chiropractic Club, we sell refrigerators.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, really, I find that too. Like, one of the things that I call it is like doing really deep work, because like you know, you can, if you're digging for a well, you can dig, you know, 20 holes 6 feet deep, or you can dig one hole 60 feet deep. And of course, the well that you dig in one place at 60 feet deep is going to be so much deeper and provide so much more value to people than all of those little holes. So I think that's really important to recognize what it is that you offer to people. The last question I want to ask you was about, you know, I noticed that you're a female, you're a woman, and in terms of school numbers in class, I would say it's about 50-50 right now, at least here at Life West, you know, 50% women, 50% men. But then when you look at the broader landscape of chiropractic, there are not a ton of women in leadership positions. So I'm wondering what you feel like is the future of chiropractic through the eyes of a woman.
You know, I don't know. I think it's everything or nothing. The irony of Life West is, yeah, there's a lot of females, and that's awesome. When we went to Sherman, when we started, there were 14 people in our starting quarter, and 3 of them were women. And so I don't know what percent that is, but out of 14, there were 3 of us, and so there are 11 dudes and 3 women. And I think the profession as a whole is kind of turning with that. We are getting more women. When my dad was in school, I think he graduated with like 180 people. I think there were like 7 women. And I mean, there are a lot of powerhouses as far as female chiropractors go. What I would like to see, quite honestly, which is a little bit, I don't know, hypocritical, I guess, is more women in in neurology, you know, functional neurology that are like the powerhouses. There are more women that are in sports medicine that are the powerhouses. We have a lot of females that are in prenatal pediatric, you know, the ICPA. The ICPA, you know, Genome is the leader with that. But there's still, you know, the vast majority of the teachers are male. And so it's not that, you know, we've cornered the market by any means in female. But we've definitely, I think, as far as prenatal pediatrics go, we kind of are more in that realm anyway. And I think most women, this is obviously a gross generalization, but they're going to gravitate toward that anyway, a lot of times, because pregnancy is something that they can experience a lot of times. You know, being a mom is something that they experience, and so having something, you know, working with kids and stuff like that. But, you know, as far as the profession as a whole, I think that there's definitely room for growth with that. There's, I would love to see more moms teaching ICPA modules, because what we sort of lack in the profession as a whole is the ability to empathize with women. Chiropractic is awesome. Pregnancy is hard. And so when you have a pregnant woman come into your office and a man is like, oh yeah, my wife, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's awesome that you've experienced it as a partner, but like you've never experienced what it feels like to give birth. You've never experienced what it feels like to have morning sickness. And so I think there is sort of a weird dichotomy with that people forget, you know, that you have male OBGYNs, and that's fantastic, and you have male chiropractors. But a lot of times I think that something where your ability to like really like understand what that person is going through is key. And I do think, you know, the future of women in chiropractic is whatever we want it to be. And that's why, you know, I think it's really important to get women kind of involved. And I've had the awesome opportunity to come back to Life West and start teaching the obstetrics class, and I love it. It's great to really be able to talk to students and say like, hey, you know, we need to really come from a place of love and understanding, as opposed to judgment. And you know, things happen, especially in the birth world, where we have this chiropractic idea of how things should be when it comes to giving birth. And then even in our profession, chiropractors will, end their labor with an emergency C-section, and it's immediately, oh, you should have been getting adjusted differently, or you should have been getting adjusted more. And there's a lot of like blame on that. And I think that really needs to change. And so I think that the more women we get into chiropractic, the more birth stories we have, the more, pregnancy experiences we have, the more we can get away from, you know, men telling women how birth should be, and the reality of how it is. It's, you know, I'm not a fan of the scarcity birth model in America, but it is at this point a scary time, and it doesn't need to be for the vast majority of the time, but we're trained so young that birth is scary. And I think the more we get into the ability to love and compassionately see people where they're at, our profession will grow from there. And so I think women, we're just getting started.
That's so insightful, and I love how you kind of made that call to action of like starting, you know, like kind of like you've done with your practice, starting at one place, like starting with ICPA and trying to initiate movement of getting more female teachers within that organization, more females in leadership roles, and just allowing that to, you know, to spread from there. I think that's really insightful and really intelligent. I know people are going to have questions for you and want to get in touch with you because you've provided so much great, inspiring information. What is the best way for students to reach out to you?
The best way right now is I am on maternity leave. So the best way is to email my personal email, which is jensantosdc@gmail.com. 1N, so JEN Santos, SANTOS, DC, Doctor of Chiropractic @gmail.com.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I'll share that in the notes for this video. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. It was really a pleasure having you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So this has been a production of DC2B Revolution, where we live large. Please consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video, sharing it with your friends. Please leave comments below. We'd love to know what you think. And I will see you next time.